G'day everyone. I am in a really nice snowy place. Well, snowy out there, fiery over here. So I am in Whistler, and if I'm honest, I was very, very close to being at the point today of going, for the first time since I started doing these videos, this might be the first week I go without actually doing one, because frankly, I've been riding for 2 days straight and I'm absolutely stuffed. But I got a beer and then I felt a little bit better afterwards. Yeah. I know there's a bunch of Belgian people getting very upset about the choice of glass. Right now, I really couldn't care. It's cold and wet, and after today's riding and yesterday's riding, it's about just right. So for those of you who haven't been to Whistler, Whistler is a pretty epic spot. I mean, it's like massively famous for skiing, snowboarding, all the rest of it. And it's on the west coast of Canada, just near Vancouver. It's just it's a massive, massive place. This mountain is huge. 40 times more terrain than the mountain I normally go to back in Australia. It's kind of two mountains rather than just one mountain, so we've got Whistler and Blackcomb. And I know that some people listening to this was like, yeah, you know, either I know exactly what it is or I don't care because it's not InfoSec. I will get to the InfoSec things. So we got here about 48 hours ago, and as we drove in, it was just absolutely dumping snow, and got up yesterday morning and it had about 50 centimetres overnight. So I just had a massive day with the kids yesterday, and then with their cousins today. Their cousins live here in Whistler, which is part of the reason why we've come here for a bit of time out, and it was just a massively epic day. So they're in the bath trying to warm back up again. My wife's been at a spa or something all day, so everybody's pretty happy right about now. Now, I did come from Montreal, so I went from, where was I? Brisbane to LA to Montreal the other day. Hung around Montreal for a few days. I did do a talk in Montreal for a private event that was being run there. They may share more about that later on as well, I'm not too sure. But when it's a private event, I kind of sort of think, well, if they're talking about it and sharing about it publicly, you know, that's fine. If not, maybe it's something I don't want to talk about. Anyway, I did have a fabulous time there with a bunch of really, really cool people, and Montreal was just an interesting city too. A lot colder than here. It was about -10 Celsius a lot of the time. Even when we're up on the mountain here, it's still only a few degrees below freezing, so it's actually not too bad. Now, I've also got this cool fireplace in the hotel, and I learned something while I was here. They have these special logs that you burn in the fireplace, and I'm a little bit torn. I mean, okay, first of all, they're meant to be the greener fire logs. So for the eco-friendly folks, this is meant to be green, or I guess greener than firewood. And what you do is you sort of light the bag, and then the fire comes up around it. Only thing is, I don't put out much heat, but it is quite nice sitting and having a cold one in front of the fire, and imagining it's a wood fire, I guess. All right, so that's it for the Canada bits. I will still be here next week as well. We're having a pretty good duration of stay here. So maybe there'll be some, I don't know, more Canada. God, geez, I just said Canada, didn't I? Holy shit. Oh, it's been a really long couple of days. and I've literally come in from the mountain, like still in all my snowboard pants and thermals and stuff. So that shows how prepared I am today and how straight I might be thinking. Be that as it may, there have been a number of things I've been doing since I spoke last week. And I do want to sort of touch on a bit of InfoSec stuff, so it wasn't just like me snowboarding and drinking beer. Although, let's face it, both those things are very important. A few little things in terms of data breaches. So I think it was actually in the airport when I loaded this one. There's an Indian training and assessment service. I'm just looking at my notes on my iPad here, called Hub for Tech. They had almost 37,000 accounts breached last year. Impacted data included email addresses and unsalted MD5 hashes. Yay, doing that in 2017? I mean, come on. More than half the addresses are already in Have I Been Pwned. 54% of them are in there, which is, I almost feel like a little bit on the low side. In fact, it's curious. If I have a look at the Twitter feed of Have I Been Pwned, every time I tweet a new breach, I put in the percentage of accounts that were already in there, and it sort of gives you a bit of a sense of like, how pwned are the people who are already being pwned again? So, you know, going back to the numbers, there was that one, a newer one I'll talk about in a moment. Previous one before that, the You've Been Scraped one, 83%, 42% for AER Serve before that, 71% for Forum Community, 75% for Technic, 99% for data and leads. That was a little bit of a weird one. And just spinning back to 74%, 54%, 73%, I mean, the average would be consistently over half. So more than half the people in these new data breaches have already been in there. I did reach out to these guys as well. I did try to get in touch with Hub for Tech. No one replied. If I'm honest, I'm getting to the point, particularly when the services are smaller ones who, if I'm honest, I just frankly don't think give a shit a lot of the time. I'm getting to the point with these ones where if I contact them via a published communication channel, and what I mean by that is an email address on a web page, a form, a social media channel, as opposed to trying to find someone on LinkedIn, trying to email who is email addresses or security at or something like that. So if I use one of the channels that's deliberately been put out there to get in contact with them, I'm giving it about a few days. And I get through a few days and I go, look, they haven't replied. How much effort do I have to go through to try and lead this horse to water to try and help them understand their breach? I've tried, they haven't replied, I'm loading it. Having said that, there was one, and I won't actually name which one it was because I don't want to sort of throw them in the deep end here because it may be a bit embarrassing for them. There's one that reached out the other day and said, we haven't been breached. And every time I see that, it's like, what you're saying is that you don't know that you've been breached or that you have never heard that you've been breached or anything like this. And they were a little bit upset about it and they wanted to have a look at the data. And I kind of said to them, you know, like, okay, well, actually, the first thing I said is, I did contact you guys via your published communication channel, which was a contact us form on their website, about a month ago. And said, hey, I'm Troy Hunt, here's the things I do. Someone sent me data believed to be yours. Can I send it to you? Can you verify it before I let my subscribers know? And you ignored it. Incidentally, here's the screen cap of when I contacted you. So I'm not making this stuff up. So if you come back now and say, look, we're a bit upset because we didn't know about this, well, okay, you know. I then went back to them and said, look, here are all the different references, like around the world and all these different websites to the fact that you've had a data breach. Now, whether you have or whether you have not, there is a lot of chatter out there saying that you have, and it's probably something that you want to kind of take seriously. Anyway, so that does still frustrate me consistently, enormously, how bad it is just to try and get in contact with someone. So anyway, other data breach as well. Slovak free movie site, bombui.eu. Don't know quite how to pronounce that. 575,000 accounts breached this month. Unsalted MD5 password hack. And unsalted MD5 is like the gift that keeps on giving. It's going to be there for absolutely ages. Another case where I tried to get in touch with them, heard nothing back. Having said that, I suspect there is a very fine line between what these guys actually do and piracy. As best I could tell, this was one of these cases where they're sort of saying there are illegally hosted files in various places around the world. All we're doing is giving like an iframe into them or embedding a media player. So you can come to our site and watch this stuff. Not our fault. We're not violating anything because we're just pointing to other stuff. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Maybe because they're in Slovakia, there's sorts of different things that they can do which they wouldn't be able to get away with in the US or the UK or Australia or something. I don't know. I guess I wasn't really expecting a response, but defer back to previous point of, so long as I make an effort to get in touch with you, if I go ahead and load it because I haven't heard back from you, I'm quite comfortable with that. There are a bunch in this category, a bunch of things where I've already reached out to these organizations, said, hey, you've had data exposed. As I'm not hearing back from these guys, when I get a little bit of time sitting in front of the fireplace while I'm here, I will load more data and I will keep making sure that people who have been in these incidents get to find out about it, even if the websites who are breached don't tell people themselves, which was kind of the whole point of Have I Been Pwned, wasn't it? All right, so going back, I didn't blog anything this week. I didn't do anything notable this week, InfoSec-wise. And again, I'm quite comfortable with that. I don't mind having a bit of downtime. And I did actually have a lot of people contact me after I was posting photos of like, you know, super soft snow and all that sort of stuff going, you know, hey, awesome, go and enjoy it. So thank you to the people that supported me on that. It is a bit of a never-ending job, what I do. And it's, yeah, I love it enormously and I love where we are in life. But as I've said many times before, it can be really hard to tune out. And I have tried to do a pretty good job of that this week. So, in the spirit of that and wanting to get back to doing more of that, a couple of other things I thought were interesting, just going back through my tweets from last week. Someone else submitted a pull request for some Have I Been Pwned stickers. In fact, I've seen a couple of tweets of the first people who have actually received their Have I Been Pwned stickers. And thank you very much for sharing those, because I got to be honest, like, I get a kick out of seeing Have I Been Pwned have some sort of physical representation, like literally on someone's laptop. That's cool. Thank you very much. Keep doing that. I have not got my stickers yet. They've arrived back in Australia. I'm obviously not there to collect them. So as soon as I get home, they will adorn my laptop. Someone made a pull request to the repository I set up for this, and they put a couple of stickers there. In fact, I'll read one of the ones that is the least cool. It's still cool, but the other one's just epic. So they did one which says, I have been pwned and all I got with this lousy sticker. So nice, thank you for that. They've uploaded a PNG so you can see what it looks like in the GitHub repo, as well as an Adobe Illustrator file which you can upload and get these stickers printed. They got one with the traditional Have I Been Pwned sort of turquoise colour, one in pink as well, which does very much stand out, I'll give it that much. But they did another one which was super cool, and it looks like one of these signs that you'd see in a manufacturing plant somewhere. It says, this user has worked, and then there's like a blank, days, without having been pwned. Underneath that, the best previous record was blank days. Stay safe, do not reuse passwords, haveibeenpwned.com. That was super cool. I really liked seeing that. I think that was a really neat implementation. That was shared by Total BuzzKit on Twitter. So yeah, thanks for Total BuzzKit. I took that pull request and they're now available in that Have I Been Pwned repo if you want to go and get those stickers made. So that's cool. Now, other thing, this just came up today and I just, like in part it was a space filler, if I'm honest, because I really haven't done much else worth talking about this week. In part, I just thought I had to share this because it was just let me just read it. So this was, someone's contacted HSBC in the UK. This is HSBC_UK on Twitter. And they've said, hey, they're basically contacting them via DM about a problem. I was on the HSBC Android app, not sure what version. I was able to log into my secure banking by purposely using an incorrect password. I'd love to demonstrate the flaw, but of course don't want to be sharing any of my personal banking details. So, I get that, sounds reasonable. HSBC responds and says, hi Bradley, I've forwarded your feedback onto our complaints team who will log this for you. They will be in touch with further information if required. Thanks again for letting us know. They then go on, this is now the next day. Hi Bradley, my name's Claire. I'm from the digital complaints team. Thanks for getting in touch with the concerns you have with our app. We're aware customers can enter additional characters onto their password and it will be accepted as a successful login. Yes, like in other words, you don't have to get the right string. You just have to have some of the right characters in the string. But here's the kicker, because right after this they say, we don't classify this as a security risk. Now, I don't know, maybe it's just, no, it's not just me, because this tweet has had a lot of retweets and a lot of engagement today. I was like on the gondola or the chairlift, and like, why does my Twitter keep having like the load more in it? Because there's so many people chiming in on this. Now, in their defense, they do go on and they say, we don't classify this as a security risk, as your password must still be entered correctly for it to be accepted. Now, I think what they're saying is that you've got to enter the right password, but then you can put any crap on the end of it, and it will still be accepted, which, usability, maybe? I don't know, it's just weird, but a lot of people have been saying, okay, well, this means they're not hashing it. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that they could be truncating it when it's entered. You know, they could be truncating everything to, say, 10 characters for argument's sake. And this guy's tried his normal 10-character password and a 12-character password, and they both worked because they were both truncated to 10. Maybe, but it smells bad. Now, in HSB's, what are they? HSBC's defense. Where's my beer? And by the way, I think this is literally how much beer I've had today. It is 2 or 3 mouthfuls. In HSBC's defense, there is much more going on with banking authentication than just checking the string that has been entered by the user matches the string in the system. There's a bunch of other stuff that goes into this. In fact, I got a blog post in draft about this because on the one hand, it looks crap when a bank either does stuff like that, or they say you can only have digits for your password, or you can't have these characters, or they can only be 10 characters, or any of these other things which are anti-patterns as far as good security goes. On the other hand, banks invest a huge amount in InfoSec, and there is a lot that happens beyond just the process of string matching. So despite what some people said when they popped up and said, well, look, I would leave that bank and I'd go and use another bank, I would never go that far based on that alone, because your other banks are quite possibly doing the same thing anyway. But I guess the point I want to make is that it looks bad, but it is probably not as bad as it looks, because it's not like some basic forum, for example, just purely matching strings and that's it. And you could be some rogue operator in a country that's never logged in from a device that's never logged in, trying to do something crazy, and you just get through just because the passwords match. So there is more to it than the surface, but it's not a good look, and this veneer is something that you would not want to portray as an image for any service, let alone a freaking bank. That will continue to get mileage, because that is something that people got very upset about. All right, looking at my list, that is really about it, other than this week's sponsor, which is NetSparker. So big thank you to NetSparker for their ongoing support. As I've said before, those guys are an organisation that I have used, I think, since about, might be earlier than 2011, 2010, something like that. And I was always really keen on NetSparker because it is such an easy to use product, and it is so intuitive, and it makes sense to developers, which are the people that you kind of want writing the secure code in the first place. So the reports are kind of useful to them. So big thanks to NetSparker for their support over this year. We are starting to wrap up the year, and there will be all new sponsors coming up soon. So thank you very much for watching this somewhat abridged version with a little bit of unusual stuff, a little bit of Canada trivia, whatever it may be. Next week I'll come to you from the same spot, or at least somewhere here in Whistler, and maybe I'll have a little bit more substance to share. But look, I hope this was entertaining anyway. Thanks for watching. I'm going to go and see about the rest of that beer. See you guys.